Welcome to Your Condo Connection, the CCI video series designed to assist condominium purchasers, owners, and boards. We hope that you'll follow our series and listen to the experiences shared by our many expert guests. In this session, we're going to take a closer look at those monthly fees that all condominium owners have to pay, the common element assessment. And to help us understand that a little better, we've brought in somebody more than qualified to help us with that. Park Thompson. Park, thanks for coming. Now, Park, you're with the auditing firm Furlong and Company. And how many condos did you say that your firm audits every year?
250 or so.
250. Well, and you're a noted author. You've done some instruction for directors. You've done some presentations, and you've done some speaking engagements with managers. That certainly qualifies you as a financial condominium expert. So we're going to tap into that. Now, the boards send out notices every year talking about the annual budget, and that budget is all listed by those lines, but it's not always clear what's covered in the individual's monthly fee. Can you help us understand that a little better?
Yes, Marie, basically the budget consists of all costs outside your own personal unit. And there are several different components of the budget. The largest one would be your operating costs. So for example, utilities, all your utilities that aren't sub-metered, so hydro, water, and gas. You'd have monthly contract amounts such as landscaping, snow removal, security, management fees, of course, and repair and maintenance costs. So that's the operating part of the budget. A very significant part of it as well is the statutory reserve fund. So the board of directors is responsible for the operating side of the budget. The reserve fund section of the budget basically comes from your outside engineering expert who tells the board on the owner's behalf how much has to be saved each year under the Condo Act into the reserve fund. You've also got a couple of other smaller sections of the budget. Number one, if you have any past operating deficits or overspending amounts, you have to recover those. Mm-hmm. I always like to see a surplus built into the budget for the proverbial rainy day. A lot of management companies would like to see a month or two's accumulated surplus on the books, either just in the operating account or in a separate fund, such as a contingency fund. If you have a bank loan, you have to provide to pay back the bank loan. Sometimes there's those horrible two words, a special assessment. There has to be a provision in that as well, if you have to pay back a special assessment.
Okay, so all of that is captured in that bigger document called the budget.
Yes.
And I guess the board and management sit down and they work their way through that and finally approve that. But how do you connect that to my individual fees? What's my share of that?
Okay, so once the board of directors has developed the operating budget, then you go to your very thick legal document called the declaration that you were handed when you purchased. There's a section in that called Schedule D, and that sets out the amount of interest that your unit has. So you simply multiply the amount of your unit's interest from Schedule D times the monthly budget, and that's how you come up with your section of your monthly fees. You also have to include any parking costs as well, and lockers.
Oh, okay, so there's a formula to take that bigger document that's the budget and actually break it down to my share, and that's all laid out there.
Yes, and I neglected to mention one thing, and that is it's often based on size, or the size is the largest component of that interest. So a 3-bedroom unit will pay more, of course, than a 1-bedroom unit, and also depends on other factors such as, for example, if you live in the penthouse, you're going to pay more than a person that lives on the first floor on a square footage basis.
Oh, that makes sense too. I guess that's drafted at the time that they build the condominiums and
yes,
a lot of
factors. And that's created by the developer or the declarant.
Okay, so the corporation has to live with that as they move forward.
Yes.
Okay, now I can see all of that. So the board's developed a budget, they've approved it. I can see how the fees get down to the individual suites. But how would an individual know whether that's a reasonable number? Is that fair? I mean, I hear this a lot. We're paying too much. How do you determine that?
Well, every corporation is different because it all has a different set of amenities or common elements. So in some ways it doesn't matter whether it's fair. When you decide to buy into the condominium lifestyle, you have to pay whatever your budget requires, whether or not you use it. So for example, if you live on the first floor, never use the elevator, you still have to pay your share of elevator costs. If you don't swim, just because you have a swimming pool, you still have to pay your share of that as well.
Oh, that makes so even in a townhouse condominium, You might not have a car, but you're still paying your share of the driveways and roadways.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
that makes a lot of sense, though. That goes a long way to protecting your investment.
Yes, and that's the philosophy of living in a condominium.
Well, Park, thanks for clearing that up for us. It gets confusing sometimes trying to figure out a budget versus a fee. We hope that it cleared it up a little bit for you when you get your next budget document in the mail. Until next time, I'm Murray Johnson, and this has been your Condo Connection.